Hello everyone, welcome to another air crash investigation episode. This is episode 3. Today we're going to be talking about a plane crash that happened in July. And this was shortly after Malaysia Airlines Flight 17 got shot down over Ukraine. This is Air Algerie Flight 5017. Now this plane was blank, there's no livery on it. This crashed in the 24th of July 2014. It crashed off course. It's still under investigation. It crashed in Ghazi, Mali. There was 116 people on board. They all died on that flight. The aircraft was a McDonnell Douglas MD-83. And it was Swift Air, operated by Swift Air. So it was a Swift Air aircraft, however it was being used by Air Algerie. If you don't know what this thing is, it's called Operation. No, it's not called Operation. It's basically a charter airline pays another charter. Our airlines pay each other to use an aircraft. So let's say we'll use two famous airlines. Let's say we use Southwest wants to do a flight route, but all of its planes are busy. So it will steal a Delta plane to take it from, let's say, Salt Lake City to Detroit, Michigan. But it will use a Delta plane, but it will be still operated by Southwest. So Southwest will pay Delta as much money as Delta needs for that aircraft. Then Southwest will take it for the day, fly it, and then bring it back to Delta headquarters at Atlanta. Either that or Detroit, since they're both really Delta related. Now this flight was a Swift Air plane operated by Air Algerie. It was taking off from this airport in Burkina Faso and headed to Algeria. The plane lost contact and crashed in Ghazi, which is in Mali, and here's the airport where they took off from. Now they did recover the black boxes, and according to this, and according to the FDR, it says that the plane was gradually losing speed, but still keeping the same altitude. This doesn't say here for how long, but that is sort of a paradox. I mean, if you're flying in a plane, you're losing speed. Once you lose altitude, you don't stay in the same altitude. That doesn't make sense. And so the plane began to make a left turn. This is when the speed began to drop increasingly. And so the plane just spiraled into the ground because of that left turn, according to the FDR. The CVR was damaged beyond repair. So they don't know what they said in the cockpit. So, the plane was an MD-83. First option, the engines. The engines must have had a very bad problem with the engine function. The engine must have been not burning fuel properly. That's an option. Also, there could have been a fuel starvation of the aircraft. The plane will have a tendency, when it runs out of fuel, it will have a tendency to stay in the same altitude for a couple minutes, then it will start to descend. The plane didn't start to lose altitude until it started turning, which I find very, very strange. And the biggest question here is that it was off course. Second option, a mechanical failure of the MD-83. Could there have been a fuel puncture in the MD-83? Could there have been a bad autopilot working that day? Could they have accidentally sent it to a different airport? We'll never know because the CVR didn't say, because the CVR is damaged beyond repair. They only have the air traffic control tapes to work with now. I mean the investigators. Now, option number 3 is suicide. Now, back in early 2013, no, back at the end of 2013, there was a crash Land Mozambique Flight 470. So it was November 29th. This was a murder-suicide by the pilot. This was confirmed by the CVR, where the pilot told the co-pilot to go outside. Classic scenario. And then he locked the door, and then you could hear the co-pilot banging on the door as the pilot just threw the plane into the ground, literally. This has happened a lot of times. This was the latest in 2013. And this could have happened again. It was off course. So I don't know how you get off course if you don't. I don't know how you get off course if you don't mean to. I mean, it's not nighttime. It was a clear day. Maybe some clouds in the sky. But they should have known where they were going. I mean, have they flown that route before? I don't know. I didn't check the flight records. Flyware is not a flight. Is not a place. Is not a website to trust for flights. So suicidal is an option. Option number 4, a hijacking would be likely. There was 116 people on board. This is their nationalities. There were surprisingly 6 Algerians, 28 Burkina Fasians, and there were mainly French people, because there's a lot of French people in Africa. There was, there's 6 Lebanese, 5 Canadians, 1 Egyptian, 1 Belgian person, Cameroonian, France, Egypt, Germany, Luxembourg, Mali, Nigeria, Spain, Switzerland, and United Kingdom. There was 116 people on board. Everyone died on that flight. So we also have, the engine is complete yes. There's got to be something wrong with those engines. If it's not, option number 5, energy starvation. There was a plane that crashed in Venezuela because most of its energy was going into the de-icing and also the cabin lights, which both they did not need, even though they were flying through a storm that they thought they'd need it for. So not enough energy was going into the engines in order for them to function. So they both went down to idle, and they wouldn't come back up, and the plane just stalled and crashed into a farm field. Could this have happened again? Could there have been more electricity on board the plane than needed? A lot of people complain to me that why don't they have entertainment systems on these short flights? We get so bored. Here's your answer, people. The plane needs energy to go. The plane needs energy to move. The plane needs energy to consult the engines. If you want entertainment system, bring your phone, bring your iPad. Don't count on the airline to help you with that. Number 1, if it's a low-cost airline, they most probably will not have entertainment systems. Number 2, you're expected to look out the window and enjoy the beauty of the outside, of the clouds and stuff. Number 3, as I said, the energy would take away. So if you want these entertainment systems on 30 minutes flight, you're a dead man talking, okay? So I doubt there's going to be entertainment systems because Swift Air is a low-cost airline. I don't think they could afford them. And you also have to know that Air Algerie is a major African airline, just like Ethiopian Airlines or South African. So, I mean, you've got to obviously count the fact that energy could have been the cause of the crash. Also, number 6, flap malfunction. Okay, we already have the energy, we already have the engines malfunctioning. Now we have the flaps malfunctioning as well. I'm expecting Swift Air as a low-cost airlines. This is my narrow-minded thinking of low-cost airlines. I said this in my Air Asia Flight 8501 video, which was episode 1, by the way. Low-cost airlines have a tendency to not fully train their pilots before getting them out and flying. And they also have a tendency to not inspect their aircraft as often as they need to. So this might cause a malfunction in the engines or the flaps. So the flaps, if the flaps are extended on one side but not the other, it'll cause a disturbed tilt. And this was 20 minutes after takeoff, by the way, people. So everyone must have been like getting ready, like sitting down, relaxing. The pilots must have had the autopilot on. So the flaps must have been on level, the autopilot must have turned off, and then the plane would start banking all of a sudden, and then the pilots would try and fight for control. They try to move the flap lever, it wouldn't work. They try to move the droop lever, which are these little slats that come over the edge of the wing. As you can see, I'll zoom in on this photo. Right here, these are slats. They're on the edge of the wing. So the plane would really just, you know... Wait a second. Hold up, guys. This photo. We have the engine compartment open. There's something wrong with those engines in that photo. I can just sense it. This is at Madrid. This plane is really old. It's been owned by Air Austral. Right now I see it's Spain Air, I think. Then it went to Swift Air, and now it's at Air Algerie? This is an overworked plane. You gotta throw it into the graveyard. It's done for. Get a new MD-83. I mean, as you can see, they're obviously fixing these engines in this photo. So that's gotta mean something, people. So anyways, I was saying the slats are the droops are the slats over the wings that can extend that help take off. And the plane would just keep turning and spiraling down into the ground. I'm leaning toward my best buddy here, engine failure, because I can see it. I'm looking at it right now. I see an open engine compartment. That means there's something wrong with those engines and they're trying to fix it. So, I'm gonna say I told you so at the end of this video when they found out that it was an engine problem. Alright guys, thank you all for watching episode 3 of my aircraft investigation series. I hope you've all enjoyed, and I will see you all later. I told you so.